Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh bidvaro. We have to go back in history because in the United States, especially in the different school systems, there was a tremendous discussion, and it's still valid today. Can you teach the theory of evolution according to Darwin in school? Well, why shouldn't you? It's part of the literature. It's part of science. Why shouldn't you be able to teach that? Because many people feel it goes against the theory of creation by God. Most religions, monotheistic religions, teach that God created the world in a certain moment, while Darwin says that things have been evolving through the ages. It's not that God created in one moment an animal and then a human being and then fish, but life in general has been evolving through centuries, through thousands of years, through eons, through who knows how long ago. Well, why should that be so important? Why can't we just say, you know, there are those who think like that, there are those who think otherwise, or why don't we try to combine the two? Because basically, I think what underlies that is, what is your concept of man? What is the value of man? Is man just a perfected ape? Is man a descendant of cows somehow? Or maybe even of an amoeba, and therefore he's just a better, a more functional, a more efficient in certain ways, a thinking animal? Or is man something altogether different? If God created man, and he created him in his image, then he has something spiritual, something that is of an altogether different nature. Should you have pity for another man? Should you help another man? Does one cow help another cow? Should man help another man? Well, if you go according to the theory of evolution, which communism adopted as a credo, you have a certain concept of man. You can certainly sacrifice 100, 10 million if necessary, if you want to save humanity. But when you think that a human being is something very special, he's spiritual, he has part of God in him, how can you possibly eliminate a human being? A human being has altruism. A human being has dreams of doing things for others. He has empathy for other people. Well, I don't think that this is exactly so either, because I think that those that believe in the theory of evolution can also tell you, you know, man is not only has evolved from other animals, but he has acquired in this process of evolution of certain sense of responsibility toward other human beings. He has developed a sense of art, of literature. This is part of evolution also, without including the divinity aspect, the divine aspect of a human being. So maybe we can find some kind of congruence, a confluence between the two ideas. They are not as diametrically opposed as one thinks in the very beginning. But there's no question that the origins are altogether different. Maybe what we need is to bring the two theories a little bit closer to each other. I think that there is no question that nowadays, regardless of whether you are a believer in God or you simply say that everything is evolution, nature, that human beings have to have a sense of responsibility for other human beings. Even though we may think so, we see that from time to time, there are those who act totally different. They have no respect for another human being in order to reach their own goals, in order to impose, to implement what they think is the right form of government, the right form of behavior for a society. They're willing to do away, as I mentioned before, with hundreds, even millions of human beings in order to attain their objective. So regardless of where you think the world really goes, how did it start, what processes really are the ones that are working in history. Make sure that you have respect for another human being, that you have empathy, that you identify with the suffering of those that have less than you. Make sure that you cure those who are ill. Make sure that your family is an integral part of society, cohesive part of society, because in the case of the Jewish people, it's our sense of family that has given us the strength to survive throughout centuries of persecution. And I think that eventually all of humanity has to think of itself as one big family that is traveling space in a home that is common to all of us, that is called the earth.